Good afternoon, friends. I'm Dr. Aajay Shah. We are bringing this another afternoon live. We've been doing this thing for the last 6 months, a great response. And we have another great guest today. Let me give you a quick update on our page. We have almost now about 94,000 followers, from all over the world. We are also on YouTube and Instagram. My wife has started now showing, recipes with a healthy cooking, whole food, plant-based. So we definitely are, coming out with all the different content you need, not just to be happy and healthy, but to be successful. We also have expanded our pillars from the traditional 6 pillars of healthy lifestyle into including parenting, including women empowerment, lifelong learning, financial health. So we are bringing guests to cover all the 20 pillars of being a successful person. So please stay tuned. We are going together with all of you. We are definitely going to support you. We are going to motivate you. We all will work together. So let's welcome our guest, Dr. Jyoti Patel. Welcome, Dr. Patel.
Thank you so much for inviting me today, Dr. Shah.
So Dr. Patel is actually an integrative medicine physician. She also has a functional medicine interest. She actually is combining Eastern and Western medicine in her practice. She's trained as an internal medicine pediatric residency physician. She also has her own concierge practice. I've seen some of her Facebook videos. She's a great chef, and she also is a big believer of mind-body connection. So, Dr. Patel, where do you live, and what type of medical practice you are in right now?
So thank you again for having me on. I just love your page. First of all, the mission that you have is close to my heart. So thank you so much for bringing so many wonderful people on to inspire and empower and educate. So thank you for your service. I live in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I've been here for 17 years. I have been practicing internal medicine and pediatrics, so I'm triple board certified in internal medicine, pediatrics, and integrative medicine. So again, my practice started out as a solo primary care provider. I did both inpatient and outpatient adult and children care. I was the only pediatrician in Fountain Hills. I was the only female internist in Fountain Hills. So I stayed fairly busy and had a great opportunity to get to know a lot of my patients. In the last 3 years, I pivoted. I found my place in a more holistic place. I wanted to teach my patients how to live a healthier lifestyle. So I did a fellowship in integrative medicine at the University of Arizona down in Tucson under Dr. Andrew Weil, and obtained my board certification in integrative medicine and pursued that further with my patients and found it to be so successful, Dr. Shah, in terms of helping patients really find the root cause of why they're sick and helping them reverse chronic disease. I switched over from traditional primary care to integrative internal medicine and pediatrics. And so that's where I am now.
That's impressive. I think integrative medicine, functional medicine, lifestyle medicine is the solution to this rising incidence and prevalence of chronic disease, the healthcare costs going up. And I think as a intelligent community, as physicians, we need to figure out that what we are doing for the last 50, 100 years is not working. So there has to be a paradigm shift. And I think a person like you is bringing that paradigm shift. I myself got board certified into lifestyle medicine. And like we were talking earlier, lifestyle medicine is not only good for our patients, but it's good for physicians ourselves too. I think it's just a better way of delivering a care. It's more humane way of delivering a care instead of keep popping the pills and keep doing more and more surgeries. I think bariatric surgery is not the solution to obesity. It's how we eat, how we take care of ourselves. So that brings a important question. When it comes down to traditional medicine versus integrative medicine, please explain the difference, how traditional medicine typically works and how the integrative medicine would see a patient and how would they approach, for giving an example, obesity or diabetes.
Okay, so think of integrative medicine as supersizing traditional medicine. Okay, so it's really not two separate circles. It's actually a circle and a bigger circle around it, right? So if traditional medicine is the base of what we do, Integrative medicine is that bigger circle around it. So it's not different medicine, it's not alternative medicine or complementary medicine. It's true medicine in its form. It's supersizing what we call medicine. Okay, so I really want people to hear that, and I want to tell doctors that too, that are not familiar with what we do, that we are traditional doctors. We are trained. I went to medical school 4 years, did a med peds residency, just like everyone else has done residencies. I'm trained in the same way. I practice in the same way. I thought in the same way. I was trained to think symptoms, name the diagnosis, like Jeopardy, and then here's your prescription or scalpel treatment, right? So we didn't really have a lot of teachings in medical school when it came to nutrition and sleep and stress reduction and movement and socialization and purpose. We were taught just tell people to be healthy. And so when somebody came in, I'd say, well, just eat healthy. And that was the end of my conversation with my patients, because I was on to more important things, figuring out what treatment plan I was going to give them in forms of a pharmaceutical. So I still practice traditional medicine. I still am the Sherlock Holmes of medicine when it comes to my patients. I sit down with them, but I put on my listening ears. Rather than didactic telling them what to do, I sit and I listen and I pay attention to the clues that they're giving me. I create a timeline. I unravel their story. I figure out the perfect storm of stress and divorce and move and job loss and childbirth or whatever else has happened that caused illness to occur. It's not just idiopathic. It has a reason. We don't know the reason, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And just because conventional labs are normal, if the patient doesn't feel normal, I don't blow them off anymore and say, your labs are normal, let me turf you to the specialist that's going to then do more extensive testing, which is what we're trained to do, which is really, I'm coming from that place, so I'm not knocking it. That's how we were trained. Turf and move on, right? And so now what I do, which is different, Dr. Shah, is I have the time to really sit and listen to my patients and cultivate a comprehensive treatment plan. And it is not just my prescription pad. It's not the only tool in my tool belt anymore. I have information I've learned about nutrition. I've learned about the power of food as medicine. I can give them specifics on how to change their nutrition, give them an actionable item, a plan, help them set goals. So, and not just didactic, but motivational interviewing to find out and meet the patient where they are and tell them, this is where you want to be, here's where you are. Let's just work slowly to build steps to get you to your perfect self, to your best life. And that includes nutrition, that includes movement, that includes sleep hygiene, that includes stress resiliency, that includes the power of connection with others and purpose. I don't like to use the word spirituality because people think it's religion, but I feel like spirituality is our connection to why we are here and our purpose and our gift to the world. So giving people the space to explore that, empowering them with knowledge about how the body works. I'm fascinated by the body, by the way. I just love the way the body works. I mean, I just can't imagine the infinite design in the human body. And so anytime somebody asks me a medical question, I just get so excited and I have to draw diagrams and tell them about the cells and tell them about how the body works. So it's just, it brings me joy to practice integrative medicine. So it's not fringe medicine, it's not complementary, it's not alternative, it's true medicine. And it lives in that umbrella where traditional medicine houses a small corner. And so when we as physicians, whether you're in an institution and you're teaching medical residents or medical students, whether you're in a large institution doing research, whether you work for a hospital or corporate system, or whether you're an individual private practitioner like myself, if we all collectively started to change, create this mind shift as to what medicine is supposed to be, we can turn the tide like a tsunami in our communities and empower people to take back control of their health by giving them that information, not being the gods of medicine that dictate the terms of what's going to heal them, but really educate them, take the time to listen, give them importance, not be cynical that they're sick and bothering you, but embrace them as somebody who is seeking attention and seeking knowledge. And then as a teacher, because that's what doctor essentially means as teacher, teach them about the human body, teach them what you know about medicine, teach them what you know about cultivating a positive lifestyle. And Dr. Shah, you hit the nail on the head. Physicians need to take that in first, right? You can't serve others from an empty cup. So fill your vessel first, and that's a lesson I learned early on. Is I started to do meditation. I started to embrace a yoga practice. I started to do things with my nutrition and started to change the way I purchased food for my family and my children. I started to read more. I started to, follow other leaders in medicine that were talking about lifestyle changes and how that impacts health. So anybody, it doesn't have to be a physician, anybody watching your show can do this. We are living in unique times. We have information at the tips of our fingers, right? The world's an oyster. We have all this information in front of us. All we have to do is decide where we're going to place our attention. And if we place our attention as physicians on true healthcare, on our patients, on listening to their story, on cultivating a game plan that is not just a prescription or a procedure, but we include a team of other healthcare providers. Maybe you don't have the knowledge to teach patients about nutrition, then work with a good nutritionist. Maybe you don't have the time to really counsel your patients, work with a good psychologist. Maybe you don't know what exercises would be best for your patient, contact a physical therapist or personal trainer. These are all resources that we have. We just have to take the time to really embrace it. And I want to invite patients that are listening today to invest in your health. We've become complacent. We've become voyeurs of our health. And we've stopped taking initiative to take back control. So I want to empower people to say, here, you can reverse chronic disease. You can live your best life. You absolutely can get off your medications. It just is going to take attention, time, and energy, and maybe somebody to guide you. And a good guide might be your physician or your healthcare provider or somebody that you trust that you're following in terms of vetted, evidence-based information.
That's an excellent point. Right from the beginning, you said that integrative medicine, or for that sake, lifestyle medicine, is actually encompasses the traditional medicine also. We all are trained to take care of the diabetic emergency or take care of hypertensive emergency. We all are trained to do that, but we bring an additional tools when we become certified into integrative medicine or lifestyle medicine. And I think you said in a very right way. As a physician, I always have felt that most physicians are not very good coach. They're very good at writing a Lipitor in 1 second, but they are not very good at talking about how to motivate a person to eat healthy food. And that integrative medicine and lifestyle medicine, when you go through that fellowship and training, a physician actually becomes a good coach, a good friend, a good leader to lead the patient on that healthy journey. And I think most physicians can become a good coach if they go through proper training. And that's what I think medical schools are changing now. I think there is a more and more nutrition education in medical schools. I think USMLE is adding more questions on nutrition. Hopefully our fellowship, cardiology fellowship, will teach more about nutrition. And I think we need to listen to a person like you, a doctor like you, that you don't have to be a doctor to become a health conscious person. Like you said, information is at our fingertips. We had a guest last night, actually. He himself is a computer programmer, actually. Now he has become an expert on vegan barbecue cooking. And he actually has a more nutrition knowledge than many doctors I know. So you don't have to be a healthcare professional to be a healthcare coach or an information person. So I think that's where a person like you can teach us that any person can become a coach or a friend on this healthy journey. So let's bring up the first pillar. I call it healthy eating. So please tell us, if somebody wants to change their diet starting tomorrow, what kind of basic things they should incorporate in their meals every day?
So we all come from different places. Some of us are financially restricted in terms of what we can buy. Maybe your area, like where you live, some people live in more urban areas where they don't have access to food. And some people have lots of resources and are able to go to all kinds of natural stores and get, anything organic and everything out there. So I just definitely want to be conscientious and let you know that there's no one right way of doing this. What I said before, you're here, you want to be here, work your way gently towards that. We as humans are motivated by three things: seeking pleasure, avoiding pain, and path of least resistance. Okay, so this is primal. If it's hard, if you have to prepare your food and chop up your vegetables and that's too difficult for you, it's not going to last. If I ask you to eat broccoli every day and you just don't like broccoli, it's not going to last, right? So if it doesn't bring you pleasure, it actually brings you pain, or it causes too much difficulty, our primal instinct is to not do it. Okay, so that's really important for people to understand. When you're changing a lifestyle, pick the low-lying fruit. Okay, the stuff that's going to be super easy for you, thing that you absolutely have access to, something that you enjoy. So you may decide all you want to do is drink more water during the day. Great. That's the goal that you set. I never ask people to make a transformation in their diet day one. I tell them to take one tiny step towards their goal. And that's going to bring them joy when they are reaching their goal every day and drinking 4 to 5 bottles of water. They're going to pat themselves on the back and they're going to feel that rush of dopamine because they're going to go, wow, I made it, I did it. And that's going to give them the energy to do more. If I tell them what to do, it's only going to last a day. But if they see that they're doing it and they feel that dopamine rush, that level of reward from doing it, they're going to keep going. So then I tell them, okay, you've done this water thing, you're eating really well. Maybe they can't change their diet just yet. I might ask them to narrow their eating window. If they can't change the constitution of their food, I'll ask them, would you rather just cut your meals and eat within an 8 to 10 hour window? Would that work as a starter? And so I'm riding the bus with them. They're looking out the window and making excuses. But look at this, I work long hours. Look at this, I don't have resources. Look at this, I don't have money. And I say, well, that's great, but let's look over here. What do you think about this? And so when I talk to my patients, and this is part of motivational interviewing, is I try to feel out what is that low-lying fruit that they're willing to do? How much energy are they willing to put in, and what's going to be likely to happen? So I never give them a didactic prescription of nutrition. I always try to figure out, are they able to add more fruit into their diet? And I never talk about taking things away from them. Because remember, number 2, pain. We are motivated by avoiding pain. So if you took away somebody's nighttime beer, and that is one thing that they absolutely love, you're not going to get a lot of compliance. So a lot of times I'll ask them, what would you like to add in? Could you have a cup of warm tea in the evening? Could you have 2 pieces of fruit a day? Could you make sure that you have a vegetable in your meal, maybe 1, 2, or 3 times a day, depending on what they're willing to do? Are you able to pack a lunch? So sometimes the goals aren't, you need to have this perfect diet. It's, what can we do to gently and slowly, without pain and with ease and pleasure, bring you to where you're now eating a whole food, plant-based diet, you're drinking water, you're avoiding excessive salt, sugar, fat, and alcohol. You're avoiding tobacco. You're sleeping. You're exercising. All those perfect habits that we want them to do. So that journey, Dr. Shah, can take weeks to months to a year. But I never really give people this perfect model. I tell them it's progression that I'm working on with them, and never perfection.
No, that's an excellent point you made. I think we all have different priorities in life. We all have different resources. We all are still learning more and more things about how to eat healthy. And that's where I think a small steps is easy for people to incorporate in their life. You know, whatever food, healthy food they have at home, just eat more of it. Like you said, drink, regular, water, and then avoid any kind of sugary drinks. I mean, that's a great step. And I think as you learn more, as you replace unhealthy things towards healthy things, eventually I think your body will start to feel so good that you will have that dopamine, you will have the different taste buds in few weeks, and you will start feeling better. Your energy will improve. You will not have the afternoon slump in your energy. Your sleep will improve, and you will become your own judge more than even a doctor can tell you, or doctor can show you. You will become your own judge that eating this way has been so much beneficial, and then you will be a lifelong believer and lifelong committing person. So I agree with you. There is no reason as a doctor. Sometimes doctors are famous to push people, but I think most coach actually let the people take their time, work with their own resources, and those have long-term results. Those have long-term commitments. So I think that's very important. When it comes down to movement, like you said, physical activity, people worry and people say sometimes that I did not pack in an hour of gym. But as I understand, as I realize that you don't need hours and hours of exercise, you just need to move all day. So please tell us your understanding that how much movement people should do in a day.
So you're absolutely right, Dr. Shah. There's plenty of studies to show now that a busy executive that has a sedentary job who spends an hour at the gym every day is no healthier than somebody who doesn't go to the gym. So that's unfortunate, isn't it? So, but what we do know is that their counterpart that is spending most of their time during the day staying physically active has tremendous difference in mortality, morbidity, chronic disease, weight, all of those things. So this phenomenon now that we are teaching our patients about is NEAT, non-exercise activity time. That's the 23 and a half hours that you're not at the gym. That plays a bigger role in your health than the 30 minutes you were at the gym. So how do you spend your day when you're not at the gym? Are you sitting in a chair? Are you sitting on a couch? Are you resting most of the time? Or have you incorporated movement in your day? Maybe you wear a monitor or a Fitbit or a device that prompts you to get up every hour. Maybe you have a device that tracks your steps and you are gently aiming for that magical 10,000 steps a day. Maybe you're doing more housework. Maybe you like to dance in the middle of the day. Maybe you make sure that you take the trash out and pick up the mail and go up and down the steps a certain number of times. So what you practice, you make stronger. So if you find yourself being more sedentary in your day and your goal is to increase your NEAT time, your non-exercise activity time, then maybe use some type of a goal you set. I'm going to get to 10,000 steps today, or I'm going to get up every hour, or I'm going to make sure that I get the laundry done and the dishes done today. So setting small goals every day can get you a little bit more aware of how sedentary you are, and then makes you pay attention to the amount of exercise that you've desired to make. Without setting goals, nothing happens. So if you don't know where you want to be, how are you going to get there? So first you have to determine, where is it that I want to be? Before that, you have to ask yourself, why do I want to do it? Because if you don't have a reason, you're not going to do it. We innately humans are lazy. It's easy to stay the same than it is to change. We all prefer to not make changes. Change is too difficult. So staying the same has to be more painful than the prospect of change, right? That's the why. Why is it that you want to get up and move more? Is it because you have a wedding to go to, or a swimsuit you want to get into, or you want to look good for a photo shoot, or you have a personal health crisis that you're trying to overcome? You want to avoid medications. You want to live your best life. You want to be around for your grandkids. What is that big why? And that big why is the reason why you're going to move more. And if you need more information, for sure, do research on the studies that have been done on non-exercise activity time and the benefits to our health. Once you see that information, it's invaluable. You'll basically want to make changes to your sedentary behavior. So now you have the why. So then you have to set up the how, right? You can't just say, okay, I want to be healthier and I want to look good in my bathing suit. You have to want to do it and create a method. And the one thing that I always create with my patients are SMART goals. And I know a lot of you kind of know what SMART goals are, but I ask them specifically what they want to do. And then I ask them to measure, okay, it's 10,000 steps a day, great. And then I ask them to give me an actionable item. What's it going to take for you to make sure you get that 10,000 steps? Well, I'm going to check my pedometer throughout the day, great. And then I ask them if it's realistic. Well, if what they're doing is 2,000 steps, 10,000 steps may be ambitious. So I say, well, how about we just go up by 300 every day, right? Is that more realistic? And then I ask them for a commitment in time. When do you want to start? Today? Excellent. Let's get to it. So your question about movement, every medical study out there, exercise is a grade A recommendation. It doesn't matter which chronic disease you're talking about, whether it's cardiovascular health, whether it's neurological health, whether it's joint and inflammation, whether it's any type of immune dysregulation, GI dysregulation, kidney dysregulation, pick an organ, okay? And movement is going to be part of the grade A recommendation. You
No, I
can't
think
go wrong with movement.
those are excellent points because I think the concept of need is so important. You describe in such a proper way because most people think that they can sit 8 to 10 hours and 2, 3 hours on the couch and then have half an hour, 1 hour exercise at gym. Not only that's not beneficial many times, and we know now the people who sit, the metabolic rate starts to go down in 2 or 3 hours, and they all become insulin resistant. They all become pre-diabetic. And sitting is new smoking, actually. People who sit, even if they move half an hour in the gym, sitting actually chair kills more people than cigarettes. We know that now. Chair kills more people than cigarettes. So movement is very important. And you said in a very right way, purpose. I think we all have to have why. When we look at the blue zone, the 9 characteristic, one of the most important characteristics that when they wake up in the morning, they know why they are waking up. What is the purpose for the day? And same thing applies to movement. Like movement has to have a reason for it. If you're just going to go mechanically to the gym and do it, you may do it January and February, but by March you stop again. So I think all those things become very important, and that's where I think a proper coaching, proper motivational interviews, all those things become very important, and that's where we need physicians who are trained, like you, trained to do this motivational interview, to do this coaching. And that's why I think the response from the patients is much higher. You know, that brings up our next pillar, which is another extremely important pillar, and that's a sleep. So please tell us the role of sleep in staying healthy.
So here's what I tell my patients. Sleep is not a place that you go to. Sleep is not a place that you go to. Being less awake is being asleep. Letting go of hypervigilance and hyperarousal is sleep. So if you look at the brain activity during wakefulness and sleep, it's just a change in frequency. As we slow that frequency, we go from hyperarousal and hypervigilance to relaxation, from relaxation to dream, from dream to deep restorative delta sleep. And we cycle back and forth through our night cycle during those states. And if we want to get to that deep restorative sleep, if we want to get to that REM dream phase of sleep, we have to let go. And so the things that I work on is not all the things that traditional medicine doctors work on. I don't try to drive sleep into them. I actually try to make them less awake. So I work with them on that pre-sleep hygiene. I talk about, okay, what is it that you do an hour before sleep? Are you on your television? Are you on your computer? Are you on your phone? Are you emailing? Are you working on bills? Did you have a conversation or disagreement or an argument with a loved one? What is happening during that pre-sleep state? And is that keeping you tethered to wakefulness? Whether it's alcohol, whether it's sugar or caffeine or processed foods, there are so many triggers that can keep the body in a stressful, hypervigilant state. And getting new information from the news or from social media can also keep the brain moving and thinking and not allowing you to let go. So we start out by talking about what sleep is. And then I tell them, okay, that's what sleep is. Now, what is it that you need to do to get yourself to better sleep? And they automatically already know, right? The body is intuitive. I don't need to feed that information. They're like, you're right. I am on my device way too long. You're right. I do like to have that late night snack. Oh man, I'm going to have to give up the XYZ. Okay, well, is it once again? Specifically, what do you want to do? I want to sleep better. Measure. What does that mean? I'm gonna sleep 7 to 8 hours. Okay, what does that mean? Okay, I need to turn off my devices an hour before bed. I need to incorporate other sleep pre-sleep habits to help me let go of hypervigilance and hyperarousal. All right, is it realistic? Well, I'm gonna give it a try. Okay, when are you gonna start? I'm gonna start tonight. So every time I talk to my patients about one more thing that they want to work on, I bring it back to them. It's like driving that bus and they're looking to the left, but I have so much work to do and so many expectations. And I have all these emails I need to, and this is the only time I can relax. And it's when the kids fall asleep and I have to watch my show, or this is my way of relaxing. And I ask them, does it serve your purpose, which is getting good sleep?
I think those are excellent points. And I like your definition that sleep means actually not having that hypervigilance and not having that, extremely awake state. And that's what I read some studies that even if you do half an hour of meditation, that's actually almost as equal to 1 hour of restorative sleep. So I think we have to incorporate the concept of just not being in bed, but how to be less hypervigilant and less quote unquote awake. So I think I mean, this is where I think some of the training in integrative medicine becomes very important, because traditional physician would think sleep means whatever time you have spent in the bed. But there is more than that in terms of, slowing down our waves in the brain. Those things can be done without being in the bed sometime. And I think sleep hygiene is so important. I think if you want to have a good sleep, you have to plan an hour or two before you go to the bed. The sleep doesn't start the second you get in the bed. Sleep hygiene starts hour or two before going to the bed. And all those things requires education. All those things requires proper motivation. And I think, like you said, once patients start doing it, they actually get self motivated or self educator. Once they figure out that this thing works for me, they just start doing that. And I think we just are a small vehicle. The beauty about integrative medicine, lifestyle medicine, that we are actually only a very small vehicle. We are just showing them what they already almost have figured out. We just need to show them that it's going to work. I think traditional medicine doesn't think that. Traditional medicine means doctor are at the top and they prescribe the medicine, patient takes the medicine and hope that it's going to work. Compliance rate with Lipitor is 50% because patients don't understand why this medicine was prescribed to me. For them, the doctor gave it to me and I just take it. We don't work that way in integrative medicine. We make them an equal team player when it comes down to we are not above them. We are at the same level. And to be honest with you, sometimes I learn more from patients about lifestyle medicine than I learned by going through the training, because there are some tricks which works in a lot of people. And those tricks are something we have to incorporate. That again brings our next question, which is equally important. I think stress management. We just talked about meditation and other techniques. So, stress has been a major issue for last 40, 50, 60 years. We are in a fast-paced society. We have now COVID-19. So please tell us, how do you yourself and how do you help your patients, your friends to cope with this tremendous amount of stress in a day-to-day life?
So again, going back to the body, it's important to understand what stress is. And stress is not a bad thing. Stress is a normal response and is a very important response. It's an alarm system that allows us to stay alive, right? It's a survival tool. It's also an impetus for change. So if we were stressed, we then found solutions. So our ancestors used stress as a means to evolve, as a means to survive. So I never think of it as black and white and bad and good. I think of it as, how do you become the master of this thing called stress, rather than it being in control of you. How do you then control it for its purpose, right? So its purpose is to help you charge up. So when you have a stressful thought, or you see, hear, smell, taste, feel something that makes you scared, your primitive brain, the limbic system, fires off in the amygdala, which is the stress center of the brain. That stress center, lights up like a light bulb, and it shoots electrochemical signals through the body to the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands then respond by dumping chemicals, cortisol, norepinephrine, epinephrine, adrenaline, into the bloodstream like a tsunami. And within microseconds, 50 trillion cells all get the same message all at once to go on alert, high alert, that we are at imminent danger, threat, our survival is at risk. And 50 trillion cells, like good soldiers, all rally up for that fight or flight. Your pupils dilate, your mouth gets dry, your heart starts pounding, your breath becomes shallow, your stomach gets queasy, your muscles get tensed up, your hands get clammy, your mind starts racing. It's supposed to happen. It's supposed to happen that way. It's a normal response. But what we then want to do is when we feel that response, we want to check in with it. Rather than reactive, like an animal, react to that response, check in. So my acronym for my patients is the word STOP. Stop what you're doing. Take a few deep breaths. Observe your physical sensations, your thoughts, and your emotions, right? Take time to inquire. Am I really being chased down by a bear? Does this response require a 9-alarm bell? Is it just a dirty dish in the sink? Can I get over it, right? Is it just somebody ranting on social media? Do I need to respond like I'm being chased by a bear? Do I need to put my entire body into fight or flight and ready for this fight? Or can I reflect on this for a second, right? And then those 5 deep breaths that are there in between are to activate the opposite nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system that runs through the vagus nerve. And cranial nerve number 10, one of the most primitive nerves in our body, in Latin, vagus means wandering, starts out in our brainstem and it kind of travels through our entire body. It sends a signal when we breathe and use our diaphragm to relax, to digest, to resolve. So when we give ourselves pause between stimulus and response, and we create space between stimulus and response, it gives us the ability to really process, that's the P, process what this information is. Is it real? Does it matter? Is my life at imminent threat? Can I see this in a different way? Can I work through this emotion and find a creative outlet that's productive instead of yelling, screaming, hiding, running, freezing, shutting down, which is what we normally do, fight, flight, and freeze, right? We either get into fight mode, we start arguing with people online or our spouses. We start running away from the person, the confrontation, the issue. We bury ourselves in work, we become complacent, we become compliant. Or we freeze, we completely shut down and disconnect from people, and we start to then self-soothe with alcohol or substances. We start to self-soothe with more social media. We start to distract with work. We start adapting maladaptive coping behaviors that are harmful to our body. So recognizing that that's a pattern and noticing where you can pause in those steps before you then react. And then can you change your reaction to a proper response? And can you find solutions from that stressor that are productive? Maybe you're angry about whatever's going on with COVID and you find yourself frustrated with it. Is there anything that you could do that could be more productive? Could you check in with your family? Can you have conversations? Can you write down your feelings? Can you write blogs or speaking engagements, or can you teach others what you know? Is there any other outlet that you can create during this time of stress that's going to direct that energy into a more positive outlet? So I always think of stress as a nidus for change, I think of stress as a vehicle for change, but we have to bring attention to it, understand where it's originating, what is causing this fear, is the fear validated? And if it is, how do we proceed further in a productive, creative way so that we're actually making a difference in our own lives and in the lives of others?
No, I think that's an excellent way you put it about the stress. And actually, you said in a very right way. Stress actually is necessary in our life. And obviously, we all want use stress, not distress. And I read the book by this Kelly McGonigal about upside of stress. And that book clearly proves that stress actually is not as unhealthy as it's been portrayed in medicine in our society. Number one. Number two, the managing the gap between stimulus and response is very important. People who learn to manage that well, people who just speak their words 5 seconds late can save many divorce, can save many fights, can save many even homicides. So I think managing that gap is very important. Number three, making sure that you have all the tools within your armamentarium with increasing your parasympathetic activity. And I've done a video on how to increase your parasympathetic activity. And those are simple tools. You can do that. And I think the last thing is just realizing that at the end of the day, we are doing better than 1,000 years ago. We are surviving longer. We are living longer. We have more resources. We have better food on our table. And most of the things are going to just work out. COVID-19 is going to come and go. We have gone through worse in 1,000 years than what we are going through right now. So taking a deep breath and just saying that we will be fine, I think we need that. And that's where I think, again, I keep repeating myself. That's where the role of an integrative physician, role of a lifestyle medicine physician comes in, assuring the person that you will be fine. You don't have to reach out for that antidepressant just because patient said, I'm stressed out. Just spending 5 more minutes to give the person a tool how to manage stress, whether it's meditation, whether it's an extra hour of sleep, whether it's a reflection, whether it's journaling, all those tools are much more readily available in integrative medicine and lifestyle medicine than traditional medicine. So like when you said, we are supersizing the traditional medicine is such a perfect way of describing that we are adding so much more to traditional medicine. We are not taking anything away from traditional medicine. We are actually adding more to it. So that again brings the next important pillar, very important pillar in blue zones, very important pillar in our life, and that's about relationship. If you have a good life partner, good spouse, you typically will eat healthier. You will go more out walking. You will have just a different way of living life, including kids and family and friends. So please tell us the importance of relationship.
So you're striking my heart with that because it came to me, a few years ago, about 3 years ago, the importance of community. And, growing up in India, we had a very open community, family, friends, neighbors, unannounced, anytime, all together, never having anybody being separate. And then now we've kind of migrate to a more individualized society. It's all about me and mine. It's about what I need, and not really looking at the bigger picture. We don't live in those kinds of communities anymore. So one of the things that came to me a few years ago was this desire to create community in the community that I lived in. And so I believe that, ideas, epiphanies come to us because there's a need in the universe. And I thought about creating a community garden. And so in the town that I practiced, I thought, what a wonderful way to practice what I preach, right? So I need to walk the walk if I'm going to talk the talk. And how do I do that? How do I bring, good food, healthy food? How do I bring movement? How do I bring nature? How do I bring community and friendship and education in a place that everyone can enjoy, right? And the first thing that came to me was a community garden. So I approached the town management, the mayor and the town council for an empty lot that has been vacant since the town's inception. And it's a dirt lot here in Arizona. Nothing grows in the soil except for cacti. So they didn't really have much use for it, and they were willing to let us use it. And with a group of like-minded people from the community, we developed this amazing 2.5-acre community garden. And super proud of this project. We have 120 organic raised beds. that is all organic farming. We have 10 beds that volunteers grow to donate to the food bank for people that are underserved. We have kids gardening program. We have beehives. We make our own honey. We have our own composting program. We have a greenhouse that we start our seedlings in. We even have a large entertainment area and outdoor kitchen where we do farm to table or garden to table classes every month to teach people how to grow their food and then how to prepare it in the kitchen. So this project has been sort of my baby. It's been my passion project. And it was mainly because I wanted to create a safe green space where people can gather, where elderly, young, families, neighbors can come together, have conversations around healthy living, where we can learn how to grow stuff, even in Arizona, how we can then use our garden produce to prepare healthy meals, how we can then work together as volunteers to keep the property up to date and clean and turn our compost and use our waste to, turn back into the soil and teach our kids the importance of composting and the importance of good healthy food and showing them where food comes from. So this is really an important facet, and anybody watching can do this. It's not one person's genius. It was a large community and a huge amount of people that all came together with the same purpose in mind that made this project happen. There were companies that gave us in-kind donation. There were individuals that donated their time, sweat, and tears. We have great volunteers. We have over 400 garden members. So I'm very proud of this project, and it has really embodied the idea of integrative medicine in my community.
No, I think this is absolutely, absolutely impressive and amazing. And I think that's where a physician who has a vision for the community, not just for one individual patient, not just one person at 10:15 in the morning, it's for the community 24/7. And that's what I think we need physicians like you who has a larger cause at their heart, not just seeing one patient. Many physicians, unfortunately, they're busy playing golf, every week, sometimes twice a week. They don't have the vision for what they offer to the community, and which is 100 years ago, physician was considered the most valuable person of the town. Physician brought a lot of wisdom, a lot of personal advice, a lot of personal relationship. Physician was like a friend to everybody in town. Physician was in everybody's house at all their great events, including wedding and death and everything else. And that kind of a role of a physician, unfortunately, because of some of the malpractice issues, some of the medical legal issues, has been going away. And that's where you actually brought kind of a good mix of not just being an integrative physician, but also a community organizer, a community leader, and relationship pillar. When you do it with a mission, the relationship pillar actually has a lot more better outcomes than just having a relationship on one-on-one, just sitting and having a beer and chatting. Here you are doing something which is much of a larger cause, including food bank, including cooking together, including healthy food, including making green out of a desert or out of a land where nothing grows. So I think all those things actually is much more commendable, to be honest with you, than any other integrative lifestyle physician I've seen. And I think you have gone beyond what integrative medicine taught you. So I'm very proud of you. This is very, very, very impressive. Very impressive. So that brings my next question. I've seen some of your Facebook videos and I've seen you in action. So please tell us that when you said that healthy mind and body connection is very important, and having a certain ability to manage certain difficult emotions, how do we deal with that?
So information comes in all forms. Information is what we think. Information is what we see, what we smell, what we taste, what we touch. And that information changes us from moment to moment, from hour to hour, day to day, year to year. So we are in our current state, a composite of all the information we have received since birth, and even before that, because it's a composite of all the information our ancestors had received that built us. We are the best specimen that they could have hoped for. We're the best creation that they've created through the information that they've received. So the mind and the body are not two separate things. They're actually just information in general, right? So the information is collected through the mind and then filtered through the body. And then those cells take in that information and then transcribe genetic coding that then produces proteins, and that manifests as what we see. So think about it as one process, not necessarily as two separate beings. So we are in charge of the information that we receive and how we cultivate this vessel that we call mind body. And the only role that we have is paying attention. We as a conscious being, if you believe in consciousness or whatever else you like to believe in, our consciousness is who we truly are. The vehicle that we drive is the mind and the body. And when we pay attention with our consciousness to certain information, it then comes in and manifests in our body. So if your attention to self is what you're working on, let's say it's self-care, and you make it your point to meditate every morning, and you make it your point to do yoga or to do some walking or some exercise or Tai Chi or whatever it is, you're bringing attention to that. That attention is going to lead to new information, which is going to then transcribe and change your mind and body. And Dr. Shah, you know about neuroplasticity, but I'd like to tell your audience about neuroplasticity. It's this idea that your brain is constantly changing based on the new information it is receiving, even as I speak. So new neural synapses are forming, old neural synapses are being withered away. Brain is constantly rechanging and forming new neurons and new synapses based on new information. So what you were before is not where you are now. And where you want to be is a possibility if you collect the right information. Not only is the brain neuroplastic, but the entire body is neuroplastic, is changing. So your heart is changing, your blood vessels are changing, your tendency for disease is changing, your inflammation is changing based on the information that you provided, the food that you eat, the air that you breathe, the water that you drink, the people you associate with, the thoughts that you have, the information you read, see, and surround yourself with. All of that matters. So if you want to be a different person in a year, start changing the information that your body is receiving now. So being in this present moment, being aware of the fact that everything that we do is a choice. You know, we always try to blame other people. Well, it's the media that makes me crazy. It's this plague, this pandemic that's making me crazy. It's my husband is making me crazy. My kids are making me crazy. My financial state is making me crazy. It's not the events that are affecting you. It's your perception of those events and what you pay attention to. So if you want to change how your body feels, change your attention. Is that what you
No,
meant?
I absolutely love it. Actually, your concept about valuing the information is so important. And fortunately, with all the literacy rate in the world, with all the internet-based education and learning, information is readily available. And I think that's where person like your role comes in. I think garbage in, garbage out. So what information you put in, whether it's information about eating, whether it's information about alcohol, information about relationship, and information is the key word. I actually love that word. Information makes our mind, makes our genetics, makes our protein, makes us live long. So information is the key word. I love that word actually. I think that's the best way to describe how we can grow from where we were and where we are and where we are going. So information is the key. And I think I personally myself believe that more knowledge, more information I have in my head, easier my life gets. So I sincerely ask all of our listeners, followers, that be hungry for the information, be hungry for the right information, be hungry for the healthy information, and you will surprise the whole world how far you can go. So information is the key word. I agree with you. So that brings something which has been up and coming, and that's about the concierge practice. So please explain the concept of concierge practice and which physicians typically do that. And are you doing concierge practice also?
So when you say concierge practice, for me, it means, because it may mean different things to different people, is I work outside of the scope of insurance. I have practiced within insurance for the last my 15-year career. The last 2 years, I've decided to move away from insurance. And I explain it in this way. I've always had the patient as my only purpose, meaning I give them 110%. My only purpose for and serving them is to provide them with information and help them reach their goals, their health goals. And I find that in the last 15 years being in an insurance-based practice, my ability to do so was slowly being withered away. So if you put a frog in hot water, it jumps out. But if you put a frog in normal water and then start boiling it gently, it will stay in the water, even when it's dead, right? So we are like that in medicine, right? We're slowly being boiled away from our true mission, our values, our morals, our ethics. You know, my purpose is to care for people. I love people. I want to help them. I'm passionate about medicine. I love talking about it. But I found that in the insurance-based model, I was being shackled. I wasn't able to provide my patients with that kind of care. I was limited in the amount of time I could spend with them. I was spending a lot of time chasing after prior authorizations and justifying a peer-to-peer call, or dealing with fighting with the insurance company about a particular test that I think the patient needed, or prescription that I needed to have, just because the insurance company had a contract with one medication company. I write for that for 1 year, and then the next year they change it based on cost, not because of efficacy. And now I have to change that prescription to that other company based on cheaper drug. And I just feel like ethically I wasn't meeting my mission, and I was living in these two lives. I was living for the insurance company and their profit margin, and I was trying to live for my patients and help them, you know, live their best life. It got to a point, Dr. Shah, where I just couldn't do both. I couldn't find myself being able to keep my moral standards and my ethics and my mission to help patients and cater to the insurance company's metrics, forms, reporting, prior authorizations, extra administrative work, requirements, you know, these unreasonable expectations for putting people on medications to attain a goal that really doesn't mean anything in their life, but just means it on paper. For instance, if somebody has an elevated blood pressure, my mission is to explain to the patient that the blood pressure is not the problem. It's like a smoke detector. It goes off when there's a fire in the home. And the same way, the blood pressure goes up as a sympathetic response to inflammation and stress in the system. The blood pressure itself is not the problem. It's a signal that there is a problem. And so why not we work on the root cause of what's causing your blood pressure to be elevated, rather than me following this algorithm that's been assigned to me by the insurance company for putting them on a certain drug. And then they dictate this, okay, well, this drug is not in their plan, so therefore pick this cheaper, non-essential drug. And I end up having to put them on 3 medications instead of one effective one. And I just felt like it wasn't really, it wasn't meeting my needs. So what I tell my patients is this: you pay me directly for my care. There's no one between you and I. I have no other objective other than making you well. And in the traditional model, I get paid more the more you come in. I get paid higher the sicker you are. In this model, there is no incentive. I actually am incentivized the more healthier you get, the more prouder I get of you, and the more independent you are of me, right? So my fees are not tied to you staying sick. My reimbursements from insurance companies are tethered to how sick you are, the number of diagnoses I can attach to you, the more prescriptions I can prescribe for you. I hold you hostage based on those prescriptions to have you come in every 3 months, because that's how it's done. And I'm honest about that with my patients. That's how it's done. But I no longer want to be tethering my patients to a prescription so that they have to come see me. I don't no longer want to add more diagnoses to their chart to get paid more. I want to take those patients and get them well. I want them off their medications. I want them living their best life. I want them not sitting in a doctor's office or a waiting room or a surgery suite or a hospital bed. That's why I decided to go in this direction.
I think one thing I agree with you. I think the sick care model is just not working. It's failing miserably. People are living less. People are suffering more. Chronic disease, obesity is going up. Healthcare cost is 20% of our GDP, almost $3.5 trillion. That's where we need mavericks or trendsetter. Not only you have gone into integrative medicine, you saw the need for it and you jumped into it. And now you are also leading this concierge type practice. And I think physicians at times, because like you said, change is difficult. Physicians at times are used to the way our society has been, asking us to take care of them. But somebody has to take the charge. Somebody has to set a new trend. Somebody has to be a maverick. And I think you are that person. And to be honest with you, even doctor like me, who's a full-time employed cardiologist, can learn from you. And many physicians, and we have about 500 physicians on our page, many physicians who are going to be watching this thing can learn from you, that you don't have to be that robot of last 50 years of sick care model. Change yourself and you'll be happier, you'll be healthier, you probably will make possibly more money, you'll be a friend to all your patients. And like you said, you don't have to see them every 3 months for the refill. If they're healthy, if they're doing great, they can come once a year and still pay you the same amount. So you will have more time as a physician to go home on time and spend time with your family, have your hobbies. So I think you are doing, which is a win-win-win-win situation. And I think that's where bringing doctor like you on our page is one of the most important thing I do. And I value you. I appreciate you coming. I sincerely thank you. And we wish you the best. And we will be bringing you back probably once or twice, 2, 3 times a year to see what other projects you're doing, because you have the vision and we all can just follow your lead. So thank you very much, Dr. Patel.
Thank you, Shah, for having Dr. Shah for having me today. I had a great time talking to you. And if anybody is interested in any of the projects that we're working on, of course, they can follow me on my social media pages as well, which is Jyoti Patel, MD.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.